Oh my God, like you have no
Oh,
idea. And
oh
four
my
days before I
gosh.
had appendicitis, so I almost didn't make it to the Grammys. I have a lot of stories to tell, my friend.
Oh my goodness. My name's Adam, and this is about you and your journey in music. And well, talk about the new record you have out and the cover songs that are on that as well. And I just
Perfect.
can't wait to hear your story.
All right, let's do it.
Cool, cool. So born and raised in Panama, is that what I read?
Born and raised in Panama. My dad was, born and raised in the Canal Zone of Panama, which was American territory until 1999, in
Mm-hmm.
December 1999. So he was born and raised there, and then he went to New York, did his high school, went to Brazil, met my mom. They studied medicine together. He brought her to Panama. So then I was born and raised mostly in Panama.
Wow. So your parents are doctors then? Is that what you said?
My
They're
parents are doctors. Yeah.
wow, that's so cool. And then so I mean, being so musical, like how did that land into your life? Did you come from like were your parents musical at all?
Well, you know that my grandma on my mom's side was an opera singer. My dad wanted to be like Frank Sinatra, I think, because he
Oh,
was always singing
really?
it. I can't listen to a Frank Sinatra song without thinking about my dad. So he grew up listening to a lot of music, and they fell in love with each other, singing to each other. That's how they learned to speak, Spanish and English, my mom, and Portuguese, my dad. They were
Oh,
teaching songs to each
interesting.
other. So my house was always filled with music, and I grew up listening to a lot of things from my mom's side, like a lot of Brazilian music, bossa nova, samba, even a little bit of Edith Piaf, because my mom comes from a French, Portuguese background. And then on my dad's side, all the American, music, a lot of big band, Nat King Cole, but a lot also of Latino music, from those times, from the vinyl
Mhm.
times. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And were you singing at a very early age? Like how did you get into music or piano? How did you start off?
I started, I was I don't know how you call that. We call it empirical, like when you have it from since you're little. I would listen to the notes and I would go to the piano and find the notes and start doing it like
Oh,
that.
yeah,
Very,
perfect pitch, pretty much.
no, I wouldn't say perfect. But I was very musical. So then my grandma, I mean my aunt, that is also my godmother, my mom's sister. She taught me my first chords in the guitar. So I would just like play a little bit of everything. And then later on, I had some classes.
Interesting. Okay, so it was a little bit of everything. Piano, you could hear something, go to the piano, and then find the notes on the piano, and then eventually learn chords on guitar.
Exactly. I don't consider myself a great musician, but I play enough to make my songs and to, perform or whatever I need. I really, praise people that really live out of practicing an instrument. I would say I'm a storyteller. I,
I
I
was gonna
tell
say,
stories with music and lyrics.
probably more I was gonna say you probably consider yourself more of a songwriter than just using those as like an vehicle to write the
Yes,
music that
yes,
you write.
exactly.
Were you always a storyteller? Like, were you writing from a very early age as well? Like, was
Oh
that
my
something you're always
God.
interested
You
in?
know that this weekend there's a TV special coming out that tells my whole story, and I got to remember
Oh,
it all, because right
wow.
now right now I'm celebrating 30 years of career, right?
That's so
This
cool.
year.
Yeah.
So I was seeing just yesterday, I was seeing that segment of the show where I was like with my little, fluffy hair, because I got curls, and
Hmm.
going to Brazil when I was like 9, and that's exactly when I started writing my first songs, because I would have all my family from my mom's side in Brazil. We would go like for 3 months. I would spend my vacations there, and then I would like be with my cousins and everything, my grandparents, my uncles, aunts, everything. And then I would come back with the stories of what I lived during the vacations. So that was kind of like putting melody and music together from an early age. I wouldn't call myself a songwriter, but I was
Uh-huh.
kind of like telling stories through music since I was like 9.
Wow. And with like, when did you start showing people these songs? Like, when did it become apparent that you're like, oh, these are actually like songs and I should continue doing what I'm
I
doing?
think since that moment, because I
Okay.
would go straight to my parents. Listen, since I was very little, I was like 2 when I would go to my, family and my grandparents and everyone, like, hey, I have a new show today. Can you please gather? you know, and
Okay,
then
you're entertaining everybody.
I was very professional since day one. Like I was practicing in front of my mirror the whole week with my music. I never asked for, I mean, I probably I did, you know, ask for certain dolls, but they all had to like either dance, sing, do something, you know, do
Okay.
something artistically. And I would mostly ask for karaoke's and microphones and everything. So I would go like, hey, I have a new show for this week. So the whole family was waiting for me to, you know, perform every week. And also at school, I would go like, hey, teacher, can I pass, you know, to the front? Because I've been rehearsing for the whole week. I was very much like that.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
you're like very ambitious. Yeah, that's cool that you would go to at school too. I mean, just go up and be like, I'm going to perform for my whole class, which I seriously
Right.
think is the most like when I hear stories of artists saying like their first performances were at school talent shows and things like that, I'm thinking like that could possibly be the most terrifying thing ever. If you're playing a coffee shop to 20 people you're never going to see again
Yeah.
versus playing to your whole peer group and kids you're going to have to continue seeing every day at school, like that just seems like such a different level of vulnerability, really.
Well, I don't know what happened to me when they made me, but I had no shame at all. But like
That's
for me, the
amazing.
terrifying thing would be to just, you know, stand still. I was like, hey, I got something going on. And then it was fun for everyone to see. So they would allow me to do everything, you know. I would even
Sure.
imitate my mom's voice to call the shows like let's say like kind of like the Sesame Streets of Panama and things like that. We had like
Mhm.
a show called Dominguito, Chiqui Boom. I would call everywhere to, you know, book the appointments and go there and perform for the shows. And my mom was like, you have to ask for permission first. And I'm like, I am my own manager. What are you talking about?
That's so
Yeah,
cool. That is so
I was
cool.
very much like that.
That's brilliant. I've heard people say that too. Like they'll make a fake email address and like so they're like the manager, but to do it on like the phone. Hey, I'm Erika Ender's manager, and I was wondering if we could book her at your gig.
Exactly. Well, later on in life, I had to do that when I didn't have the budget to like actually pay someone to be 100% of the time my assistant or something. I would be Marcela. And then I
Mhm.
would do my own emails
That
and
was your
everything
name,
for sure. We all go
Marcella.
through that.
Oh, that is so funny. That is so cool.
Yeah.
When like going through school and stuff, were you playing? Obviously, you're performing. So were you in the orchestra, choir, anything like that? And then did you end
Oh
up going
my.
to school for that as well?
You have no idea how I was yelling every time that we were rehearsing for the background. Like, hey, teacher, hear me. She never picked me for the chorus ever.
Really?
No, which was great because that gave me more time to rehearse for my own shows.
Okay. But still, looking
She
back at
never
it, that
picked
teacher's probably
me.
like, "What was I doing? I should reconsider my
Yeah,
career path."
she never picked me. I wonder what she's thinking right now.
That's what I mean. Maybe she's reconsidering what she's doing with her life. Like, how did I miss this?
Yeah.
Oh wow. So did you
No,
go and
not
end up
really. So
going to then
mostly
to
it was,
college or anything for school?
I'm sorry.
Did you attend like college for music as well or no?
No, you know that in Panama we didn't have performing arts or music back then. So I wanted to come to Miami and make my, you know, my career out of performing arts. And then my parents were like, no, you know, the world is going crazy. Imagine now. So
Right.
then what I did was the, you know, the closest one, which was mass communications.
Uh-huh.
That's what I studied while I was still writing and, you know, and performing. I was on TV for a long time in my country as well. You know, that I was singing at a summit of presidents, Central American presidents in Panama. And then the PA just went off. I
Oh
mean, the
wow.
track, because back then you were singing to a track, right?
Oh, sure, sure.
So
Yeah.
I was singing to a track and then the track just, you know, stopped and I had to start entertaining people. And there was a TV producer there. I was a minor still. And he goes to my dad like, hey, she has talent. Like I would like to cast her for TV. So TV was a total accident in my life that I bless a lot because it taught me a lot, but it
Uh-huh.
came out of that thing that happened. So
Wow.
right after I started like entertaining people. And then when the music came back, they, you know, they gave me a round of applause, like a standing ovation. That was very cute. I think that since I was so shameless that I would just be as enthusiastic and spontaneous as possible. So people would connect to that, you know?
Yeah, they're probably like, wow, like she really, enjoys what she's doing, or, like just the fact that you have that much vulnerability to get out there and be like, I'm just gonna be me.
Yes.
Yeah, people connect with
Yes.
that for
I
sure.
think that's the word, like authenticity, no poses or no, I didn't freak out. I'm like, oh, this happens to anyone. So I think
Right.
that kind of like, yeah, that kind of like caught the attention of these people. And then I started working on TV while I was, writing and singing. But Panama didn't have that platform for people that wants to do pop music or
Mhm.
any kind of music to internationalize from there. So I knew since I was a little girl that if that wouldn't change while I was growing up, I would have to move somewhere. And then when I was very little, like at 9, I would tell my mom, like, hey, you see how everybody is singing Conga, that song that Gloria Estefan is performing throughout the world?
Mhm.
I want the world to sing my songs too. I told my mom.
Wow.
So
And now
then
they are, obviously.
So then she was like, how are you going to make a living out of music? And I'm like, I'm going to have to go because Panama doesn't have the means. But I
Uh-huh.
don't know. I mean, she knew that I was very determined, but at the moment that it happened, when I was like 22, she really got shocked. Like, oh my God, she's really doing it.
Mhm. And is that when you moved to Miami or
That's when
like,
I moved to
okay.
Miami. Yeah.
Okay. So you moved to Miami with just a passion and a handful of songs. And then how does the ball start rolling for you?
Oh my God. I thought that show that I did would open some doors, which didn't really happen. I got to meet some people that I got to interview and everything. But then when you're knocking on doors, not everybody opens them for you.
Right.
You have to start all over again. And I was pretty well known in Panama because I had this primetime show that was 3 hours every Saturday.
Wow.
And I mean, I got fired out of that show because two TV channels merged and they had to fire like 300,000,
Oh yeah.
300 people.
No,
And then
I
they
come
wanted,
from radio communications. I know exactly how all that stuff works. Like
yeah,
when I saw that you had a degree in mass communications, like, oh, that's cool. That's what I did.
yeah.
But yeah, okay, I totally get that. Yeah, they merge and then they find who makes the most money or who they can hire a cheaper person. It's just that's just the nature of the beast when it comes to that industry.
Exactly.
But
And then they
okay,
had the union. So, and I wasn't part of the union yet because I had to be, I started as a minor, as I told you.
yeah.
So then I turned 18 on TV. And then, as time was passing by, they say like, hey, you really, you've given so much to this channel because it was not only what I was doing, performing, in front of the cameras, but I was also producing, writing, doing a lot of stuff. And they're like, we don't want to lose you, but we have to fire you due to what's happening right now. Can we hire you again through professional services just for you to do this? And I was like, I think this is the right moment for me to get this money that I'm getting out of, out of this, how do you call it? We call it liquidación in Spanish. Like when they terminate you.
Oh yeah, like a severance package type deal. Like like they're gonna just give you some money and be like, okay, sorry, here's
Yes,
some money so you can live for the next month or two or whatever it
exactly.
is. Okay, yeah, like a severance.
Exactly. So I got all of that, and I just went straight to Miami and started all over. And then it was my savings. And at the first month that I was living in Miami, I was staying at my aunt's house, that one that taught me how to play my
Play
first
guitar.
chords. And then some guys got inside of my apartment that I was just married. And the apartment that we got, that we were putting together for like 9 months, these people came in and robbed everything. So I had nothing to go back to.
Oh my gosh, that was in
And
Miami.
that was in Panama.
Oh, in Panama.
Yeah,
Okay,
because I
so
got married before I left
oh,
Panama.
Panama, and then everything. Oh my, that must have been so tragic. I mean, you come
Oh
home
my
and
God.
there's
Yeah,
nothing
no.
there.
It's like
Oh
your
my
savings
gosh.
are, disappearing.
Yeah.
You have nowhere to go back. And then I was like knocking on every door, nothing was opening. And of course, I was a woman. I was super young. I wanted to be a songwriter in a world of men. It was not possible
Oh.
in the Latino world. They
Mhm.
were telling me like, oh, beautiful songs, but they sound too feminine. So I started like coming up with ideas of how to send the songs for them to, get in without that lack of vision that men had in that industry at the moment. And then
Mhm.
I would put like Ender instead of Erika Ender and ask male friends to sing the demo so that they could go through for the song,
Oh,
not for who
interesting.
was writing it. And then when they made it to certain projects, I was like, hey, it's me.
Oh,
But I had to
wow.
find the back door to get in. Yeah. It was
Oh my
20
gosh.
something years ago.
Yeah, but still, I mean, you still see that nowadays. I mean, obviously, it's changed quite a bit. But like, I've talked to other artists before, and the thing that I say is like, if I have a laptop with like GarageBand on it, and I can come out and say I'm a producer, where I feel like females don't get the same respect when it comes to that. Like, I can put together any garbage that I just came up with on GarageBand that I spent 15 minutes on, and it's like, I'm a producer and I'm going to use that as my whole thing pitch. And like, I feel like there's so much more to prove for women. Unfortunately, it's awful, but yeah.
It's part of the culture, you know. I think that women were more, you know, in the house, taking care of the kids, you know, taking care of the husband, taking care of everything. But then you understand, I don't know who invented that, to tell you the truth, because
Yeah,
women
me
are so
either.
capable. And I believe that
Yeah.
any human being has to just pursue their dreams and be happy. Of course, we have this motherly thing, that it's important because we get to unite people. We're empathetic.
Mhm.
We're the glue that sticks everything together, which is
Right.
beautiful. As men are great also for, you know, hunting and being out there and bringing good things to the house, and, you know, and to the table. I mean, physically we're different, but we do have a lot of capabilities, you know,
Oh,
that are,
sure.
I mean, not for competing, but for sharing. You
Hmm.
know, and I did learn a lot from that path. It was not easy at all. I always tell people, like, when do you hear like, oh, my female songwriter, my female producer, my female engineer? That's not the usual.
Right.
So it's an industry of men. And but I didn't want to see it at any point. I saw it as discrimination. I was trying to look the half full part of the glass.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, you know, maybe it's lack of vision. They don't even, it's not that, it's not something personal. It's maybe that they were thought like that. I have to show them that whatever I bring to the table is going to benefit all. And that's what
Hmm.
I started doing. So I started collaborating with men. Nowadays, more than 80% of the songs that have been recorded in my career have been recorded by men. I
Uh-huh.
am always the only girl in the studio. I'm always the only girl around. I learned so much from men because you guys are so simple. Like, what you think is what you do and what you say. And I love it because women are a little more dramatic sometimes, you know. Sometimes she tells you, like, hey, just go, and they want you to stay. I learned a lot of codes from the men's side, which helped me a lot in my life. And I learned that you can be a feminist without losing your feminine ways.
Hmm.
And that what's important is to just bring good results, and to understand that when we collaborate and we bring things that benefit everyone, everything turns out good for everyone. And then your name and your credibility, it goes up there, you know,
Hmm.
finds its
Hmm.
place.
For sure. With that, like, what was the first moment that kind of changed everything for you? I mean, you were struggling, you're writing songs, you having been singing songs to try to get a credit or get in these rooms. Like, was there a moment when a song finally got cut or something big happened for you? And when did that happen?
Almost 2 years after I got here, to tell you the truth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was very hard at the beginning. Then I got, you know, robbed, as I told you. Then I was losing everything. I mean, my savings were like going out, you know, disappearing. And then I was like, you know, like doing everything I could. I started all over again. I did jingles. I translated stuff from Portuguese to Spanish. Portuguese saved me. I was the voice of Discovery Kids for a while.
Really?
I sang a bunch of, you know, brand commercials and everything in Portuguese at the beginning, because Spanish was packed in
Hmm.
Miami.
Right,
So
right.
that's what saved me for a while, but it wasn't enough for me to make it like a good living. So, and everything that I had, I was putting in my demos and everything. And I got to meet some people from the industry that started like listening more to my songs and everything, until I write the English version of A Puro Dolor, which is a song that was very famous in Latin America. They were doing the crossover. They even sang, the group was named Son by Four. They sang with NSYNC at the Grammys, that version that
Wow.
I wrote. And then I go in, you know, I go straight to the Hot 100. I mean, the mainstream Hot
Right, right.
100 with that English version. which Sony was, you know, looking for the right one that really would kind of like portray the soul of the original song, and they didn't find the right one until I sent this one. Thank God. I am there as E Ender, not even Erika Ender.
Oh,
That's
you're still E Ender.
And
Okay.
then no, but later on, the president of Sony kind of knew who I was and everything, and we started working together. But back then, I'm sorry, I would say that that was the first break, but that song wasn't really mine, so I don't count it as a song that I wrote that made, you know, a difference. So after that, Candela from Cheyenne is like a Ricky Martin for us in Latin America. He recorded a song that I co-wrote with Donato Poveda called Candela that made it to the top 25. And there, yeah, music and
That's
lyrics
what it.
were
Oh,
you know, mine
wow.
with Donato as well. And then Ay Mama was a huge hit in Europe. So I think that that's the one that led me, you know, start saving a little bit, buying a new car in the US, putting the down payment for my house and everything. And then everything started all over for me in that field, because before that, when I was doing everything that I'm telling you, like the voice of Discovery Kids, I got an agent and everything, and I got to present. I was a TV host for a year for Discovery Channel on this technology show while I was recording my demos and everything still. You know, the first year was very tough. The second
Yeah.
one, I had this job where I was in front of the camera. So TV saved me once again. And
Okay.
then I kept, you know, recording my demos and everything. When I saw that a door opened, then I left TV again.
Okay. So it sounds like songwriting, obviously, for you was huge. You wrote these songs, then other people were cutting them. Did you also were pursuing your artist project at the same time?
Yes. You know that I started singing when I was 16. I told you the whole thing about the
Yeah.
Americans and everything. So when I started singing formally, I was like 16. And I pursued that career in my country and did whatever I could, you know, until I hit the ceiling there, because I told you there was no platform. So when I came here,
Right.
I understood that in the big leagues, singing was another thing. You needed a big major company back then. You needed a lot of stuff that maybe today you don't need because you go straight to streaming, right?
Right.
And
Right.
distribution companies back then, you didn't have that. So you had, and a lot of things that the music industry has also. There is corruption, there's everything.
Sure.
And you know, my values didn't allow me to do a lot of stuff. So I stick to my values, and I said, you know what, I'm just gonna write for others until the moment comes.
Mhm.
And then I kept writing. The list of people, you know, started growing. And in 2005, because Candela was recorded in 2000,
Mhm.
and then I got my first ASCAP award. That was super cute.
That's huge.
And then,
Yeah.
yes, and then in 2005, I come out with my own thing that I paid. You know, I paid for my own album, and then I started touring several places in Latin America. I got like number ones in Peru, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, my country, Panama, Spain. So I was doing it simultaneously, you know, because I stopped for a while and I was
Mhm.
mostly writing for others until I released that international album.
Okay. And then when you're kind of performing as your artist project, you're also writing still for other people. Were you just in sessions, or would you write a song
Always.
and be like, oh, like, you know, this really doesn't work for me, but I know I could probably pitch it to somebody else?
You know, that usually I would write for myself what I need to express. And then when I would write for someone else, it's either something that I have in the catalog that I think that fits that person, or
Hmm.
mostly I sit down with the artist and I try to do something that is totally, you know, custom made. So it never
Okay.
was a big problem for me. And then when I'm in shows, I also do like medleys of the songs that other people have sang, and then I tell the
Uh,
story. So it's very nice.
oh, cool. That is cool. Yeah. Well, I want to just skip ahead just because I want to talk to you about your new stuff that you have coming, or that just came out with the MP345. But I'm curious with obviously Despacito. I can't speak. Let me try
Despacito.
that again. Despacito. That's like the biggest song ever. It was the biggest video on YouTube for a number of years. Like just looking at the streams, I mean, the views on that video, there are more views on that music video than human beings living on this earth. Like,
Isn't that amazing? Oh my God.
isn't that like
It's
mind
good.
blowing?
Yeah.
Like when that song, when you write the song, like obviously you know it's a great song, but how, like how do you start seeing like everybody in the world being like, this is like the best, like the greatest song?
You know that we wrote that song a year and a half before it got launched. It was like September 2000, no, less than a year. Let me see, almost 2 years. Yeah, September 2015. And that was made out of a guitar at Fonzi's, house. He had this idea since the morning. He was like, hey, I have this idea that woke me up, that where I'm splitting the syllables of the word despacito, which already means slowly,
Right.
And then he sang to me that first line, like, Despa, what do you think about this, Erika? And he goes like, Despacito, in Puerto Rico. And he says, like, I want to say something like, quiero hacerlo en una playa en Puerto Rico. Like, I want to make it, I want to make out in a Puerto Rico, at the beach. And then I responded, rhyming, like, hasta que las olas griten ay bendito, until the waves scream ay bendito, which is a slang they have there, right? And then we started laughing out of that. I said, like, I love the idea. I think it's amazing. And then he kind of like had the phrasing, but the notes were going somewhere else, were lower notes. So we started changing that melody up. So it became a little happier on the hook. And we started, doing the whole thing from scratch, out of a guitar, no beats, no producer, nothing, super organic. That song came out like in 3 hours. We did it like from 3 to 6. At 6, I was already going to my house. When we were writing it, we were like really vibing it, it was flowing so good. No, Kiki. So I'm going to have to go. Maybe I'll win for him. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah,
probably.
Do what you gotta do.
Let him.
Okay.
He goes crazy a little bit for him.
No worries.
So then it was very natural. Yes, we were feeling like we had a big thing in our hands, but usually, Adam, when you go into a studio and you have zero and things start flowing, you always feel the same thing. Because it's beautiful to walk in and have zero, walk out and have a work of art that would be like the soundtrack of so many people's lives. So that same feeling you've had before. I can't tell you like, oh, I know that this song is going to break all records. No.
Right.
We put all of our energy there. We knew that we had a hit, but we've had that, that feeling before. And it has happened, not as huge, but it has happened. But we can never imagine that it would make a difference in the world in such a way that Spanish would, make it to mainstream. Because usually I was pursuing that crossover since I was watching conga with Gloria.
Right.
But I thought that I would have to write it in English, maybe with some Latin rhythms, but in English. And now you go to Australia, you go to the Emirates, you go anywhere in the world, and then you hear Rosalia, Balvin, Maluma after that, which is a huge blessing. That very same day that it came out, which was January 13th, at the end of the day, when Fonsi calls me like, hey, he called me like 4 hours after it was launched. And he's like, hey, congratulations, my friend. We're #1 in 14 countries. I'm like, what? I'm like, oh my God, congratulations. Congratulate. I need to congratulate you. You're the one defending the song. And then by the end of the day, I'm getting hashtags, because people, in the industry and everything knows people. So
right.
They knew that I co-wrote the song. And then I start seeing hashtags of people around the industry and of other singers. Other singers started singing the song the same day, and they were like, quoting the lyrics of the song the very same day and doing their own versions and everything. So it became viral like this. And then it was a snowball that never stopped.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can't, like, it's insane to see how, I mean, like I said, the song is obviously incredible, but to see how massive it got, and just like to the point where, like, Justin Bieber's featuring on it, like, and then it just like keeps going, like it's already massive, and then it just keeps going and going and going and going. And it's like the biggest song in the world.
Adam, and the way it happened, because we were already working in the English lyrics of the song, and then Universal was proposing 2 people to Fonsi so they could do that version. And out of nowhere, Justin Bieber hears a song in Colombia and he calls to say that he wants to record it. I mean, it's like everything just got perfectly aligned,
Yeah. I mean, well, your guys' version has what's really cool, I think, is that the version that you all did first is the one that has the incredible music video views and all of that. Like his version obviously does, but it's like yours is that nearly 8 billion people have watched the video. And then the Bieber one, not that it's not great, it's like 22 million, which is still insane, right? But it's like the fact that the one that you guys originally created, it wasn't like the song was there and then Justin Bieber gets on it and then it goes big. It was like the song was already the biggest thing ever. And then he wants to get in a part of it because it's art. I mean, it's already a thing, right? And it's,
yeah, but we also have to give it to him that, I mean, the fact that he took it so fast, he took the song so fast to #1 and it kept there for 16 weeks.
yeah,
I think
that's
that
true.
that when he jumps in, because he jumps in like in April, so it was like a second launching of the song. We were already #1 like in UK, which supposedly never a Spanish song made it to the #1 in the UK.
Yeah,
We
well,
were
I
there
can
like
see that. Yeah, that's crazy.
like for 10 weeks, and then in Italy we were #1 like for 3 months. Some crazy stuff like that. And then when he jumps in, we were already like, I think in number 30 something or 40 in the top 100, going all the way up. But when he sings it, from in a week, it goes from like the 40s to #9, then next week to #3, and then it stays in #1 for 16 weeks and ties up Mariah Carey's song and Boyz II Men.
Yeah.
So I do think that the fact that he jumped in, even if the song was being a phenomenon, really made it really made a difference on the mainstream world, especially within the US. So I think that's so, and it's so beautiful that he decided to record it mostly in Spanish.
Right. I know. That's so cool. What
That market trending.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's so amazing. And the fact that you're celebrating 30 years as an artist, like that's so cool. Like congratulations on that.
Yeah.
And you put out the MP3 45. That's the most recent record, correct? And you did a few covers on it and a music video you just released. Like tell me about that. And like, you know, coming to 30 years as a career, then is it like, okay, I want to use these songs and I'm going to do these 3 covers? Like, where was your mind at that point?
It's the first time that I'm ever recording a song that I didn't write, to tell you the truth, because
Really?
my songwriting is like my way of expressing. When you're a singer-songwriter, you have things to say. But then since this was, you know, my 30th anniversary, you stop and you think like, hey, what made me? It's not only the experiences, it's not only, you know, the songs you have done, it's not only the awards and the people that have trusted your, you know, your stories or your talent, is the people that is in your hard drive, you know, in the back of your brain and deep inside your heart, that I really believe that makes someone. And when I was little, I was telling you, I was so exposed to so many kind of artists and music and genres that I stopped and I say, you know what? I would love to make something that honors those vinyl records that I used to hear when I was little, that really made me without me knowing, you know, that taught me to, you know, to write a certain way, or to maybe create melodies in a certain way. You know, I really think that those singers and those songs shaped me in a way. So then I said, you know what, I'm going to do this album called MP3 45. The MP3 side is the A side because it went out in digital and on vinyl as well. And I said, it's the 2 Erikas, the Erika that is, you know, avant-garde, that doesn't care, that goes, you know, in front of everyone and says like, hey, I have something to show you without any fear. But the classic Erika that also, you know, praises every single instrument, the time that every musician takes to practice it, the big band era, like everything. So I did the A side, that was the MP3 side out of the songs that I wrote for this album. And then the B side, which is the songs that I honor that made me in some way.
Oh, and then it comes back to the 45s from the vinyl and back in,
RPM,
you know, the RPMs.
Yeah,
Wow.
Exactly. So then right now we already did like all the, you know, the videos and all the promotion for the songs that I've written as a songwriter, singer-songwriter. And now we're starting with the Erika that goes back to the divas that I used to admire when I was little. So I switched to an old Hollywood look.
Oh, so that's what the video is for Abrázame. Okay. Like where you're on the stage and it's that old Hollywood feel, like if you're at a nightclub.
Exactly. Old Hollywood feel. And then I sang certain, you know, classic songs that really made a difference in my life and that have anecdotes behind. So this one that we're releasing right now is in Spanish, Abrázame, that was originally performed and written by Julio Iglesias. But then we're also going to do Soloco, which is from Dorival Caymmi from Brazil. That the singer was Gal Costa. She had like this big hair, and when I was little, I was like, she has big hair and she's fine, because I had big hair and I got bullied
Oh,
in
yeah.
school. And then I'm gonna sing also When I Fall in Love from Nat King Cole. Other songs that really marked me in some way, and I want to live that fantasy of being one of those 50s divas.
Yeah, I love that.
While I'm honoring that,
Yes. Are you doing video? So you're gonna do videos for the other two as well?
Yes, we already did.
Oh,
Yeah.
you did. Okay.
Yes.
Very, very cool.
Coming right after.
I love it. Yeah, I love the video you did for Abrázame. That's the one I've seen so far, and it's so cool. It's shot in black and white, and the way that you're just like on stage, it just has that like total old Hollywood in a nightclub, little candles on the table type look to it. I know it's so cool.
Yeah, for sure. I'm super excited about it, and we recorded it. Part of it, I have a story to tell you.
I want to hear it. Yes.
Mostly in Brazil, because I wanted to sound jazzy. I wanted to sound like global, but with a touch of Brazil, because my family's from Brazil. As I told you, a touch of Latin, a touch of Brazil, but also like global, right? So we recorded part of it in Brazil. Then we recorded in Capitol Records in LA. And you believe that the day that I'm recording, When I Fall in Love, the person in the studio, out of 6 different studios, tell me like, hey, do you know that he recorded the song originally in this studio?
Really?
And I started praying, remembering my dad, when my dad would play that song for me,
Oh, wow.
I was like, really, I want to see it. So they took me to the back, to the back room where they had like I don't know how to call this las cintas. I don't know how to say that.
Like the awards and stuff for
like the actual oh my god.
the tape, like the old record tape. Okay.
Yeah,
No.
And then I go back there and I see that the tracking of the songs that were recorded in that very same studio, and I go like, oh my god, thank you for the energy and the magic, and thank you for the memories.
That's so cool. That is so cool. That's awesome. And I think they have his mic there, right? That he recorded that song on. It's probably in some glass. I've just heard somebody tell me about that. Like that's like some relic in that building. Yeah.
It's such a special energy. How many people pass by there and did such amazing records. Music needs that so much.
Yes, I totally agree. And are you still writing songs, I would imagine?
I am still writing songs. Right now I have 2 singles that are out there in the Latino market. The Tigres del Norte right now has a song called Me Falta un Pecado. They were the ones that practically handed me my first Grammy.
Wow.
I don't know about, the regional Mexican, but it's a very macho genre. Usually someone that is a woman would not write for men in that genre, and especially a woman that is not Mexican and I'm Panamanian. So it was a beautiful moment when they got to pick this song that I co-wrote as well with Monica and Manu, and it won a Grammy. It was my first Grammy, and my first Grammy was in the most difficult, genre that I could have wanted in the Latino world. So
wow, that must have been such a special moment. Like,
oh my god, like, you have no idea. And 4 days before I had appendicitis, so I almost didn't make it to the Grammys. I have a lot of stories to tell, my friend.
Oh my goodness. That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah. I was so motivated because that we were Panama was with this huge scandal of the Panama Papers. And I have such a beautiful country. We all, have beautiful countries, but sometimes some news might not be the best ones. And we all have our good and our bad. So when that happens, I was like, no, I'm winning this Grammy and I'm bringing, a happy day to my people, because their moral was like down there.
Yeah.
And then when the doctor tells me like, no, Erika, you can't travel. You can't go on a plane. And I'm like, I was in LA and I go like, okay, we're driving. I'm hiring, a driver, but I'm going. And I made it. And I won it.
Oh my gosh. So you
It
drove
was
all the way down to the Grammy Awards from
yeah,
LA? Like, okay,
from
I
LA.
can't fly. I'll just drive down there. Okay.
Yeah, no, but
Um,
I was in LA and it was in Vegas. So it wasn't that
oh,
bad.
okay. It wasn't that far. Okay. I mean,
Yeah, but the
yeah.
bad thing was that he told me like, hey, you have to out of the, I don't know if you call it laparoscopy, the
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah. The
surgery.
surgery. Yeah.
Exactly. So, they fill you with air and everything, and it's delicate, the
hmm
recovering after that, because your veins could get like a clog or whatever.
Yeah. They can
So you
clot
have
up.
to
Yeah.
use
That's what happened. My brother-in-law recently had that done, unfortunately, but
exactly.
yeah.
So he told me like you can be, standing still for so long, you're gonna let the driver drive you for 45 minutes, and then you have to stop and walk for
Walk.
other 15
Mhm.
until you make it. So it took us forever, but we got there.
Well, I'm from San Diego, so I know that drive to Vegas quite well. And it's like you probably had a lot of time where you're just stuck on that freeway anyway. You could just get out and walk around in the desert and come back. Probably car hadn't
Exactly.
even moved yet. Yeah,
Exactly.
that's
I had
the 15 gets stuck there for forever. It's like the worst.
Yeah,
Um,
but it was so worth it,
but
so worth
wow, I mean, how cool to win that, and just yeah, that had to be such a big moment, obviously, in your life. That's so amazing.
it. It was, for sure it
Wow,
was. So
wow.
right now they have this single that is out there. Also the new album of Gloria Trevi. I know that maybe you're not familiar with this artist, but she was the one that recorded a song of mine that was very, very famous. Famous. It was like 52 weeks in the top 5.
Wow.
So we were awarded like 2 years in a row out of that song. And she just released an album as well, where she has another song of mine, Chiquis as well. Like this Tigres del Norte, they have like 3. And then I'm working with people in Nashville. I'm going a lot to Nashville because
Are
I
you really?
love,
That's where I live now. Oh
I
my gosh, how
really,
cool. Yeah, I
we
moved from
gotta get
San
to
Diego
see
to Nashville.
her.
I
Yeah.
know. That is so awesome.
I'm going every other month to Nashville and writing stories as the way I love it. And then to, back and forth from LA as well, because Despacito opened new doors, and I want to use them as well and make sure that we can, connect in other genres. And then I'm doing things with Europe, here and there, everywhere.
Very cool. That is so awesome. Well, congratulations, obviously, on the longevity of your career, and like everything you've done is so impressive. And I'm just, yeah, I love what you're doing. Obviously, love the video you put out for Abrázame, and just so cool. Thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for your time. It was a great conversation, though.
This
It,
has been
it didn't
awesome.
feel like
Yeah.
an interview.
Oh, that's what I love. That was the point. I do have one quick question that might feel interviewee, but I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Of course. That's why, that's the main reason why I like to tell the whole story, because sometimes you watch TV and or whatever nowadays, streaming, and you see the stories of people and you think that they were already made, and
hmm
it's not like that. And I love telling people like, hey, I got robbed. I lost my uterus. I've been divorced twice. Like I've had times where I had no money at all, but I didn't let my faith, disappear. I kept, my values, my will. I trusted my talent. I was making sure that authenticity was always there, which I think it's a key, especially nowadays when we live in a such of a superficial world. And I think that it's important for people to see that, you have blood, you have bones, you're a regular human being that with determination and strength can get wherever you want. And what I do believe is very important is for you to never lose your essence, your values, because then you can get lost in a material world. And what I really think that makes a difference is when the essence connects with the rest of the world. So just keep it up. Even the most difficult times, can teach you great lessons. And if you keep going forward and evolving and learning and mastering your craft, you can make it big, for sure. Bringing it backwards.